Alrighty, it looks like we're ready to throw it off to the next runner, Kalimba, running Inner Void 80% solo Celestics. So, shouts to him.
All right, cool. Hey there, I am Celestics. This is Kalimba. And if you want to...
Yes, I'm Narwhal Prime. I'll be providing couch.
That was my bad entirely. I thought that was the runner name.
That's all good.
Getting off to a great start here.
All right, cool. So this is going to be Inner Void. Just a couple things of quick note. I'm going to be playing the game while Narwhal behind me is going to be giving the commentary. Just a quick note before we get into the actual run, though. This category that I'm playing, I appended solo to it because it's actually a DLC to the game that's meant to be played co-op. But I'm going to be playing the multiplayer version of this by myself with a single controller. But we can get into the details of how the mechanics work once we get into the game. So do I just give it a countdown? We should be good. All right. So here we go with the countdown. 3, 2, 1, go.
All right. All right, yes, so welcome to Kalimba. The general idea of this game is you have to get totems to the end of the level. So we're going to start off talking about some of the mechanics in its first level. So as mentioned, Celestics is doing a co-op solo where he's controlling both sets of totems. For each player, the same inputs go to both totems, so proper positioning and timing of jumps is required. So some things you'll see right off the bat are these are black regions which none of the totems can touch. Touching them would mean death. Here you see he's doing some jumping, maneuvering, and totem stacking. As implied by the colored regions, if the wrong color touches, the totem touches wrong color, that is also death. You see these pots coming up. Basically, they will act as toggles or one-time switches that he has to activate certain barriers on. The number of the pods indicates the number of totems that actually have to stand on top, that have to be stacked on top of those pods in order to activate them. Here we see a trampoline. The thing about trampolines is, in addition to increasing the jump height, it actually increases the jump height by a set amount, so allowing for very consistent jumps. Right off the bat, you'll see he actually leaves the green totems, having move off to the side. To complete the level, you only need at least one totem to hit the objective. So you might see that a few times during this run, just FYI.
So, you're working together, you two. I didn't think players were doing
Alright,
that
cool. I can talk
anymore.
about the teleporters real quick. So you just saw my totems just immediately sort of just warp in and out of existence. Those teleporters are also given specific colors, so I can only send red/purple totems to their proper respective teleporters. I'm not going to be using all of them. For example, the green one over there is used to grab these little white collectibles, which are not important at all to this category unless we're doing what's known as 100%. We're just trying to complete the game at this point. Yeah, we fucked them anyway for swag points.
Yep. Fun fact, Kalimba is a musical instrument, and the collectible pickup noise is actually reminiscent of a Kalimba. There's your fun fact.
Ooh, that's cool. One thing I'll be noticing is that, as said earlier, each colored pair of totems is controlled by one particular set of joysticks on the controller. I'm just using a PS4 DualShock. So I need to be controlling both sets of totems at the same time, which is why I'm leaving the commentary to Narwhal behind me. There's a lot of focus that goes into the game. Alright, so that's done with this stage. One thing to note is that for every death that I get, there is a 2-second animation that's made at the end of every stage to count the number of deaths that I have. This is for each color. So if I die with only one type of color during the entire run, or during the entire stage, I lose 2 seconds. If I die with both colors, then I lose 4 seconds. If I don't die with any color, then I lose basically no time.
Yep. So here you did a little, he's going to try again, but he's going to do a little jump optimization around that enemy. where basically the top totem hits the ceiling to come down a little faster. So this actually saves a little bit of time so that he doesn't have to go around the enemy from the other side.
Yeah, that saves about, I'd say, 10 to 15 seconds. Pretty nice. You can have your totems die like maybe 3 times over the course of that section. You still save time over doing it the normal way. So if you want to explain how these little blue floors work.
Yeah, so these blue boost floors, what's important about them is not only do they speed up the totems, they make things a little trickier by forcing the totems in one direction. So you'll see him do some quick timing with the, while traversing those blue boost floors later on.
So the focus of these sort of the focus of my eyes during those screens, as noted, I'm not playing with the second player, so I need to be able to look at both sides of the screen at once. You'll see this way more in detail on the next stage, I believe. We'll get there when we get to it. But my eyes can't be on all parts of the screen at once, so I have to focus on one screen color while just sort of having second nature movement of the other set of totems at the same time. Oh, nice. Exit out to the main menu. Cool. So, if you want to explain why I exit out of the screen at the end there.
Yeah, so each time he completes a level, he moves back to the the player selection screen where you see like Celestics and Guest. This is done so that he skips the unlock next level animation. So he just quits and goes right back. Yeah, that saves a couple of seconds for each level. More tricky jump maneuvering there. Okay. Nice. Yeah, so this is a particularly tricky level in that he kind of alluded to it earlier, but he has to keep focus of both the top and bottom halves of the screen in order to progress. And in fact, the bottom purple player has a bit trickier of a task in which he actually has to manipulate those groups of enemies in order to so that when he hits those pots on the top, he actually stays there long enough for the green totems to move through the walls, while giving the purple totems enough time to not be hit by those enemies, as you saw. Here we come up with actually a pretty tricky skip. Let's see if he gets it first try. I'll explain what he's going to do. Those group of enemies on the green side, so here they're going to chase him. Oh, nice.
My God, we actually got it first try.
First try, yes. So he actually made it to the checkpoints there. Yeah, the normal way would have been to actually have the purple totem spawn and despawn the green side's wall in order to kill those enemies, which takes a bit of time. So wow, he got a first try. That's really good.
Yeah, that saves about 30 seconds to a minute, depending on how fast you do it. Getting your first try, that was pretty much flawless, which was really nice.
Not dying.
Yes, we get it. Definitely not dying is a good thing to do in this game.
I gotta love the shaman character.
Do we have time for a couple donations?
Yeah, go for it.
We have $10 from Auntie saying, "Hi, Cell, GL."
Thank you.
And we have $5 from Obsidian Link saying, "Hello, Cell. Good luck on the steak run later today, winky face."
Oh my goodness, thanks so much. Alright, so one thing to note about falling sections. Pretty much every falling section in this category is going to be, oh man, I gotta think myself here, are gonna be having all these totems like pretty much synced up on opposite sides. That was the hardest one to get through. And I'm just gonna be doing a little skip, and I can pretty much ignore having the green totems sync up with the purple ones, since only one type of totem has to be under the stage.
Yep. Actually, a little optimization where he didn't actually have to move the green totems. Yeah, in that case, where the purple totems actually, he keeps the rightward momentum when going down that teleporter. Yeah, so that saves like maybe like a second or so.
But bear in mind, the levels will only get harder and harder. For that is how video games work.
I'm sorry, I just really love the shaman voice.
Like, trying to focus on the shaman's voice is actually really good. Oh, almost got it. Yes, you might notice that the floors here are breakable. That means I don't have all the time in the world to pretty much sync up all my movements. I have to make sure I time all my jumps perfectly, or otherwise I'm just going to fall into the void below.
Alright. Jump in here.
try.
There we go.
Nice. Alright, so those deaths there were actually not that harmful in terms of time. We missed one cycle, but this enemy right here, we have to start moving backwards towards the pots as soon as the enemy hits the right side of this little bottom segment with the green totems. The reason why is because otherwise we won't have enough time for the purple totems to get to the other side of the room before they get crushed by the walls on the top side of the stage. Oh, don't die! Very cool.
Close.
And you'll notice a common theme with this. I'm just going to have the little green totems do a dance. We don't need them to move at all. Purple totems can just hit the end of the stage. Everybody wins. Believe it or not, we are pretty much almost already finished with the run. This is probably the third to last stage, I believe.
Totem faces floating around in levels without pesky players running around and stacking up.
So one thing to note here is with these enemies, he's actually trying to move the totems closer to the enemies and then moving away quickly. This is a slight optimization where he can get the enemies moving faster to their deaths, essentially. Basically towards the wall where he can despawn and spawn the wall again on top of them like that. And yeah, so doing that little back and forth dance to get the enemies closer in order to progress is an optimization. Part positioning is key to progressing here.
We're also going to be having a... Oh, that was not going to work. For those that are curious, the red totems are on the right side of my controller. Left side is going to be the green totems. Let's not try to split up totems there. We're going to be doing another falling section right here shortly. There's one more after this in the game. That's the only falling section for which the game forces you to have different elevation and heights for the totems themselves. It ends up allowing us to use a specific strategy to save time during the entire run. But we'll see that in the last stage of the game. Yep. That was DJ Steelface. I actually do not know how the developers name these stages, but they are pretty interesting nonetheless.
No idea. One fun thing about those falling sections is collecting the collectibles when they make the low noise. Actually, yeah, the noises actually go along with the music in the background. Nice. It's kind of nice. Okay.
Oh no, that was not the right timing. Alright.
Yeah. Might have messed the cycle a bit. That's okay.
Yeah, we can get this one. Make sure we don't die here. Cool. Alright, so hopefully get here before the fall. Okay, cool, that's nice.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, he barely almost did make the synced jump fall there. If they weren't synced, the tones would actually fall into the center black region there. So they had to be fall at the same time.
So one thing that's interesting about the solo run compared to the co-op, like intended multiplayer way to finish this game is that you have way more control over the totems since you're the only one playing the game. So there's not much synchronization that needs to be made, except for just your own ability to move and hopefully not have your totems die due to forgetting where to go. Cool,
I like this name.
Jeff Moldblock.
Jeff Moldblock.
Everybody wins.
Everybody always wins. Well, the speedrun doesn't win if both sides die, though. Okay, wait, I'm gonna have to make sure I do this correctly.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not gonna work. All right. That's actually a very difficult strategy. There is a way to, so the goal of this room in particular is to make sure that one set of totems gets to the top, while the other set of totems doesn't die. It's a lot harder than it looks, And normally most people, like co-op players or solo otherwise, tend to not get that for a while. So getting that second try is still pretty good. Okay, so I'm just going to shout out random numbers. Don't worry about it. So we're just going to go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, and then we're not going to jump on the last one, otherwise we're going to hit the black zone up top there.
Nice, first try.
It's like sort of my own mnemonics to be able to clear that jumping segment right there. Speaking of mnemonics, oh wait, let's not jump with green there. Let's not jump with green there. Okay, let's try this once again. Purple, purple, green, purple. There we go.
I see what you're referring to there.
Oh no! Don't do that.
Yes.
Okay, so with that, this is actually the penultimate stage. Next one is known as Lemmy. That one is going to be probably the second hardest stage to optimize in the run. The hardest one being the one with a huge room, where we got to skip the first try by abusing the checkpointing system. Nope, we don't want to go do that one. Alright.
This level is filled with my minions. They are all so evil, you see.
So he's gonna have to desync the movements a bit for these totems in order for them to pass by each other in the center without colliding.
Yeah, we actually, I actually do not have the ability to even let up a second. As soon as, if you fail once in trying to make a maneuver, you will immediately die at some point during this stage, so. Alright, that was actually very good.
Very good, yes.
Okay, nice. That's all good. Luckily, the enemies sync up after every death, which means that there is a strategy that is consistent for this part of the room. Alright, that will be moving to the only fall section in the game where the game forces you to have different elevations, but that actually sets up us very nicely for a specific trick that we'll be able to do right now, which is we're going to do a 4-stack of totems. We're going to have the green one jump off, purple one jump on top, and we're going to be using these little, these are not teleporters, these actually allow our totems to get sort of like blasted off into another dimension, like over here. And with that, we're actually done with the game right after this. The time comes up as soon as these purple totems hits the final stage clear. Time. All right. Ooh, a single death. That was really good.
Yeah, it was a pretty smooth last level there.
All right. Yeah, that is, as quick as that is basically the Inner Void any % solo run in hopefully less than 20 minutes. I felt that was pretty good.
17 minutes and 6 seconds.
Oh wow, that's actually pretty nice. Yeah, getting anything under 18, especially a marathon setting, is pretty good given the strategies used in the run. Shoutouts to Devil Squirrel real quick. He's pretty much the one that got me into speedrunning this game. So if you're gonna watch this, if you're watching right now, thanks yo. And also to Narwhal for helping commentate. Thank you for everybody who's watching. I think afterwards, Narwhal and I are actually going to be switching places because he's going to be running Keep Talking, Nobody Explodes, so this will be a good transition. But yeah, thank you for watching, and that was Kalimba.
Thank you, Celestics, for that incredible run.